welcome back to the channel. So we got a new project here on the channel. Got a car hauler trailer. Been needing this for a while. Had some other projects stacking up and I just needed a trailer. So we're going to be using this a lot in the future to be getting projects back here to the house. I've already used it. I've already messed some things up and broke some things, which is great because it gives us more room for improvement. So the first thing we're going to do on this trailer is I need something to be able to get broke down vehicles or junk onto this trailer, because let's face it, that's what we do here. We get junk and we make it slightly cooler junk. And while I'm out here doing things on this property, getting this shop built, there's a lot of trees and things that I need to move. So I started thinking to myself, maybe I don't need the winch tied down to the trailer, but I would like to have it on the trailer. So I tried to come up with a solution that I would be able to use the winch on the trailer, or I could use it on the truck. And then when I'm not using it, I can store it and lock it in the toolbox. So this is what I came up with. Ordered a hitch receiver adapter, and it's a bolt-on kind, so it's got the 4 holes. It's designed to go like around a back of a motorhome bumper, or I don't know, trailer or something. So I just used that, grossly welded it on here. I still need to paint that, and made me a support, made a little triangle, and I'll get something to go up top here to brace it that way so it can't do these things. And then we're going to go to Harbor Freight and get one of those hitch adapters that sticks into here, and I can mount the winch right there. How am I going to power that? Well, I'm glad you asked that question. I thought about putting a battery in the toolbox, running the winch off of that, having a solar panel charge it, or having the 7-pin off the truck charge that. Didn't like any of those options. It wasn't really, started getting to be spending more money and a little more complicated than I wanted to be. Plus I had another battery to maintain. It already has a battery, so I'm going to use the truck's battery, and this will feed into the next step. And I'm going to mount Anderson connectors. I don't know if you guys have seen those. It's these little guys, 2 of them click together. 175 amp load, 1/0 cable. Should be plenty to bring juice from the battery of the Ram all the way back to the hitch. So I'm going to have 1 gauge cable come off the battery. It's going to go down the frame rail. And then I got these little Anderson connectors for the back. I also got a little cover and a bracket that mounts one of these connectors on the inside. It bolts together like this. So your little power connectors can be there when you don't want to use it. It closes and seals. Looks almost factory. So that's going to go right here in the bumper. I already took my plate off. I'm going to probably mount it right there. There's a blank spot on the back side of that trim, and I'll mount the cabling there. So basically whenever I need power from the battery, it's just available right there to me with this connector. Now off the winch, I'm also going to have one of these connectors. And the great thing about it, as long as I keep my positives and negatives on the same side of all the cables that I make, I can plug the winch directly into the truck. Or when I want to plug it on the trailer, I just mount it to the trailer, and I'll make a jumper cable that goes from the winch to the truck, and I just plug that little guy in. And when I'm done with everything, it goes right back in the toolbox and can be locked up. It is snapped in place. I dropped a nut, so I got to get another one before I put that bolt in there. I basically just found on the back side where there was an opening, I used a little zzz tool and cut that open a little bit, and you know, clearance the little bracket back here, but that's just for the Rams. Anyways, I made a hole in the bumper and I bolted this little guy in there, and that's where that's going to live. And then this dude will go in there like so and bolt to the top of that bracket. And my cables will go in there. And I'll go get my cables and make. Alright, well I finally got my pieces in for the hot side. So I'll go ahead and show you that. On the Ram, I'll be going to this fuse box here. It's got some constant hot lugs. So I'm just going to hook this little guy right there. Not doing it now, but eventually. I just got a 0 gauge here, was that 200 amp quick breaker. I just zip tied this to the harness because it's, you know, plenty strong just to support that. Probably should make a bracket one day, but for now we're just going to do this. I zip tied the battery cable. It goes down. It rides the frame rail right alongside the factory harness and goes right back to the. And it terminates here. These Anderson plugs right there. So winch gets here tomorrow, and I can wire that up and make my jumper cable to go. We got the winch in. Got it mounted in the winch mount and put it in the truck. Kind of hooked everything up crudely just to make sure it worked and functioned, and it does. So I'm going to go over what I did. Now they give you a bunch of wires, and they're, you know, color coded, blue and yellow and all the things. There's diagrams in the instructions. Basically this is just like a solenoid, so You got your input switched, and then your output, which goes out to the actual motor itself. So I just used the wires for the longest ones I needed. I made these ones really long just to throw in here so I could test it out. I'm gonna make this a lot shorter so that it plugs in like that when it's used on the truck, and then I can use the jumper, rest of the cables to go to the trailer. So basically I used, this is your positive and that's your negative. You got to have your switch having, it says ignition source, but my ignition source is me plugging this in because it doesn't need to know when my truck's on. So positive terminal is here, that's battery, that'd be your ground or negative, and then when you do things with the switch, it sends your voltage out to the motor. Just make sure you get your polarities right on the motor. I think this one, yellow is positive, I think it's in the diagram, but you know, this one goes here, that one goes there, simple. What I do need to figure out is on this this harness you can run a switch, like a toggle switch. I've got that inside, I think. I got to secure this wiring in here and clean this up and make a place to mount this switch somewhere, maybe a panel, a little piece of sheet metal or something, and then something that I can mount this to so it doesn't pull out. So I've got this plugged in, that's turned on, so I should have power to the solenoid. Let's check it out. These are kind of tiny. They're not the 1 gauge I was planning to use, but I tried using what they came with the kit, and they're not warm at all. Of course, I just went back and forth a couple times. So I think that's going to be a win for that. I'm going to disconnect all of this and take it over to the trailer and see how that works. Got the winch mounted to the winch mount, and I put it in the receptacle, put it in the truck. Got it wired into the power here. We already tested this. It works. The modularity I wanted to show was it's in the hitch mount here. It's plugged in back here in the back of the truck. So we can just unplug the Anderson connector, take this out, walk it over to the trailer, which should be hooked up. Doing this probably. Slide that in there. You know, do the pin things. So now we have our connector here. Now we have our connector here. Our truck has magically moved its way back over here. We do the same thing. We just plug in this jumper harness. Very simple. I use these polarized the same way, and you can just plug this guy in here, and it still works fine. So you can dress this up, as I probably will, run this a little bit different. Maybe keep this guy attached to the frame rail like I was talking about earlier. Don't know if I'll have enough slack for that. Play around with it. Maybe I can make a little bracket or stick this guy in here. But when you're not using all of this, you can take your winch, put it in your box, take your cable, put it in your box, and then if you decide you're going to do something with the truck, just stick it on there. If you've got a toolbox in your truck, you can keep it in there, or if you've got a toolbox, which I'm about to mount on the tongue, you can put it in there. But pretty simple mount. I just welded this guy on the end, braced it on the bottom. Seems to hold pretty well. When you're done with it, you just pull it out and forget it. That way it doesn't go anywhere. Hope this helps you guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.